What up, everybody? Sven Diesel here. We're going to be making some streamer dub brushes. For these, it's pretty easy. You need a few materials. For this, I'm going to be using some ripple ice and then some extra select craft fur in a couple different colors, and then some of these new voodoo fibers. And so I'll go ahead and get all these off to the side. It really helps to have a nice dub brush table. This one does the job pretty well. And I'm going to go ahead and get out some of this craft fur. I want white to be the primary color of this. And so what we're going to do is just cut little strips here along the bottom. And before we do that, let's get our wire. So first step, we need to grab our stainless steel wire. And I put mine in a bobbin for ease. This is a size 6, I believe. And we're just going to go ahead and get it started over here on this side of the table. And the key is just pull it through, wrap it around, and then I just let the drill tighten it around. So pretty simple, straightforward. Get it secured, and then I'm going to run this wire across the groove to a little hook over here. And then I'm going to measure how long I need this wire to be so that I know just to cut it in the end. And I'll use the bobbin and the spool to I'm just going to set it here to the side and let the bobbin and weight keep it tight. Now all we do, it's kind of a lengthy process to do this, but it saves you time when tying, and it's a lot of fun. Makes them super durable. You could do a lot of dub loops and such, but I'm just cutting a little bit, maybe a 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch little patch, and I'll do 2 at a time. So I'll go ahead and cut another 3/4 by 3/4 patch. Trying to just keep these pinched and tips aligned, and I'll just line those two up roughly. And then you need to have a comb handy. I just like to use my Stompfo Velcro brush. You could use a comb that you use for your hair. And we'll just want to get some of that, what would be considered the underfur. But, it's a synthetic material, so it's not underfur. But just basically get the shorter strands out. And then I kind of just grab all the stragglers. And then I just like to cut them even. Makes it a little easier for spreading them out. But you could spend the time aligning it. So then I basically just put it on the table. I want about a 1/2 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch over the wire. And I'll just spread it out so it looks pretty even. Now, that is a 2-inch section. So I'm just going to speed this up for you so you don't have to sit here and pay attention to me do the whole thing. But you can see we're just repeating the process, cutting out 2 3/4 inch sections, snipping the end, spreading it out. And what I'm doing on this is white's going to be the primary material, and that's the one I lay down first. And I'm going to lay that down pretty much the thicker of all the colors I'm going to be doing. So whatever color you want to be the predominant color, make sure you lay that down first. And say you don't want these fibers to be as long, you can, cut them so that when I'm cutting the ends, instead of just snipping off just a little bit, you could snip off 1 inch of it. There's a bunch of different ways to go about doing this, but you can see I don't really know a way to save time to do this, especially on the first one, because that's the thickest, and so that takes the most time. And spreading it out, making it even, just makes for a better brush. And so there we go. We've got our white layer down. So the next color I'm going to do is this is an olive craft fur. I'm kind of going with, rainbow trout theme. But basically you just want to have a little bit of dark in there. And so we're going to do the same process. Just cut out like a 3/4 by 3/4 inch patch. And then we're going to brush out the underfur or the shorter ones using a comb. And then cut them flush. Or I guess I could cut it first, and then I'm kind of just working here. There's no rhyme or reason. Just make sure you get that underfur out. And then we're just going to lay this on top. Now the issue is you got to be a little careful when doing this. So what I do is I just pull a little bit out and I just lay it down. Thinner, less is more. So I'd rather do, a bunch of different laying, pulling and laying down rather than take a big clump and trying to separate it out, because the key is I don't want to move those white fibers that I already spread out and look good. And so I'm just kind of guesstimating. And, I don't want this to be the olive here to dominate over the white. And so I'm laying it down a little bit thinner, more sparse, I guess would be the correct word. And go ahead and just spread it out kind of all over. And as I pull these out of the clump to lay them down, I'm kind of rotating, because when you first grab it, you're going to grab all the long ones, and so then you're going to naturally have a taper, and so that's why I'm kind of randomly placing these so that it looks evenly distributed, so the brush will be excellent. Next, I'm going to take these voodoo fibers. I'm just going to grab a little clump of them, probably 17 strands maybe, and then I'm going to try and cut them in half. This is a fun material. It has super good flow to it, but it's also makes it really difficult. It's almost like angel hair. Really cool. And so I'll just go ahead and snip those, and then I'll snip the ends because I didn't line them up really well. And then I'm going to fold them in half again and cut them, so that I want these to be really short. I don't want these to be very long at all. It's just add some speckling and some barring to the pattern or to the bait fish. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a pinch, and then as I lay it down, I kind of twist the bottom so that they fan out along where the wire will go. But at the top, they're kind of clumped together. That doesn't matter, because where you lay the wire down is what's going to hold it in place, and we're going to brush it out. So that's not as important to have these perfectly spaced. Just make sure where you lay the wire down, they're not like in a big clump. So that's just kind of something I do. Next, we're going to put down our flash. I'm using ripple ice, and I'm just going to grab out a good pencil noodle here, and we're just going to twist it up in our finger. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut these in half and then line up the butt ends. So keep these two butt ends together, rotate it around, and then I'm just going to pull out a few fibers at once and lay it down so the butt ends are laying somewhat even with the base of the white. You can see we've got a pretty good line there, and I'm just going to spread those out kind of evenly. More flash is better than little, I guess. This is where more is better. But I really enjoy the flash, and this crystal flash adds a lot of profile and depth to it. They're a little bit stiffer fiber, so it contrasts with the craft fur really well. Now it's time to lay our wire over. We already measured it, and so we're going to go ahead and put the wax on. Now the reason I pre-measured it is right now if you're trying to measure it, you could mess up those fibers and how we have them aligned perfectly. Whereas by pre-measuring, all I do is come and snip this off, and there's already a little bit of tension, and then all I'm going to do is lift it straight up and fold it down on top of those fibers and get it over here through my loop first before I let it even touch. And then I just bring it down nice and solid, and that wax is going to hold everything in place, and I just give it a little bit of a turn to get it secure. Once I have about 5-6 turns, I know that wire's not going anywhere. I pull tension on my drill to make sure that wire's tight. I drop my table, and we start spinning. I start real slow at first so that we don't clump up on the brush, but this isn't going to be perfect. It's going to want to mat down and twist up on itself, and that's why you need to have a comb or a brush handy. I need to pick up one of those dog brushes, because that's the best thing you can use for this, a nylon like dog brush. But twist it until we start to see the very end start to twist, the end towards the camera right now. I guess I had my drill on low, and so there we go. I'm going to go ahead and grab my little Velcro brush, which isn't going to be the best option, but it does the job, and I'm just going to really be aggressive on this. Make sure to keep a little bit of tension. My drill is holding this in place on the other end, but I'm also holding it with my hand to make sure that we're not brushing too aggressive that you're going to break the wire. I don't think that would happen, but if you're using like an extra small or small wire, not stainless steel, you could potentially break it with this being aggressive on it. But you want to work up and down it, get all those fibers that matted together, that twisted with the wire, get those out. And you're going to pull a little bit of fibers out when you're brushing it. That's okay. That's completely normal. This is a messy process, but down the road, it's not as messy. So I'm going to speed it up because I brush it up and down once or twice, and then I spin it up a little bit more, and then I'm going to go ahead and brush it again, really being really aggressive now, making sure that I can feel the center cord, that it's going to be, there's no bulk to it, because when I palmer that around a shank or a hook, I want to make sure that it's even, and and I know what I'm getting. So we're going to go ahead and cut this out on both ends, and it untwisted, so that meant I twisted it up tight enough, and that right there is a awesome brush. It's predominantly white. It's got some flash, got some barring. I really like how that turned out. Good length of fibers. Maybe I'll give a little zoom in here. We got the voodoo fibers in there. You see the crystal flash. It's got green in the middle, and then of course the long white fibers. Now the key is, when doing dub brushes, make sure the wife's happy. So I always clean up between each brush, just because you don't want to grab some fibers from one brush and incorporate blue into this one. That wouldn't make sense. But combinations are endless. I really like these craft fur brushes. Go ahead and try it out on your own. Mix and match to do what you want. Thanks for watching.